Well, hello again, everybody. This is John Norris at Trading Perspectives. As always, we have our good friend Sam Clement. Sam, say hello.
Hey, John, how are you doing?
Sam, I'm doing fantastically. I hope you are, but I got to tell you, every time I go to the grocery store, I don't feel so good.
Not feeling good in the pocket.
Not feeling good in the pocket. Not feeling good in the pocket. Although everyone's been screaming, myself included, you included, been saying inflation's coming down. Here we are this morning, February the 13th, 2024. The Bureau of Labor Statistics announced that the Consumer Price Index, Sam, for the month of January increased at a 0.3 rate. Ex-food and energy, the so-called core, was up 0.4 of a percentage point. Year over year, 3.1, and if I'm not mistaken, around 3.4 respectively. The thing about it is, while the numbers themselves weren't absolutely horrible, they didn't move in the direction that analysts want, and all of a sudden it calls us into question just when and how aggressive the Fed will be in cutting the overnight lending target.
Yeah, this felt, I guess, or at least felt like, I'm not going to say was, it felt kind of like the first maybe step back, and it feels like we've been moving in the right direction. And again, we've said this so many times, inflation coming down doesn't mean prices coming down.
That's right.
It just means the rate of change of prices is slowing. And that still feels like we're moving in the right direction, but to get back down quickly to that 2%, this is going to take longer, is kind of the feeling taken away from this by a lot of people. The Fed's not going to be able to do as much as quickly as previously thought, and so it feels like this kind of step back in the market. While again, one report is noise in the grand scheme of things, it feels like this is the market kind of taking a step back.
Well, when you take a look at the various components within the report, it really wasn't that great, but also wasn't the doomsday scenario either. It was just everything was up just a little bit, nothing to necessarily write home about, and trust me, 12 months ago we would have been applauding this report. However, here we are taking a look at it, waiting for the Fed to cut the overnight rate. This isn't what the street wanted to see. And in truth, when you break it all down, it's kind of like, things do seem to be costing a little bit more at the grocery store. Restaurants do seem to be a little bit more expensive. If you've redone your car or house insurance recently, you know that's gone up in price. However, the thing that really sticks out, Sam, the thing that really seems to be driving everything home is that so-called rental equivalency of the primary residence, which was up another 0.6 of a percentage point. Sam, how is inflation going to come down to the levels that the Fed wants it to when all of a sudden rents just keep on going up and up?
Well, it's going to take a while, and that's what I mean, I think, by taking a step back today, that it wasn't going to be as quick as maybe some people had hoped. And you're exactly right. That is, you could point to the healthcare portion of it that was up more. You could point towards seasonal adjustments, all this stuff that was, probably a little worse than you would have liked.
It wasn't great.
But it's this massive chunk of housing and how they calculate housing that is going to make
24% or
about a quarter of it is going to be housing. That is going to take a while. It was a headwind on the way up because it was taking longer to actually reflect the now higher prices going up, and it's doing the exact same going back down. It's taking a lot longer for the real data to be calculated in that quarter of the CPI data.
Well, the thing about it is, it seems as though that segment of the report will run counter to everything else.
It's almost like it's meant to be that way.
It's almost like it's meant to be. So it would be like that anchor in there to put a collar on inflation so the government doesn't have wild swings in cost of living adjustments. Oh, I don't know. You can call me a conspiracy theorist, but it does make a lot of sense. Because after all, when interest rates go up, housing affordability goes down, right? I mean, mortgage
for
rates
new
go,
people.
For new, well, of course, but for new people. Housing affordability goes down, and as such, more people are apt to rent for longer, and the longer interest rates stay higher, the housing affordability stays lower, then all of a sudden that means people are stuck in apartments or leases a little bit longer, which arguably gives landlords a little bit of pricing power, although they would argue that they really didn't have it. Conversely, when interest rates go down, then all of a sudden kind of the inverse is true. All of a sudden, housing affordability becomes much easier. People get out of leases, out of rentals, and into their own home, and as a result of rental equivalency of the primary residence is prone to maybe dip a little bit or not move up as rapidly as the remainder of the index. So we're in this kind of weird scenario where this huge component of it, thanks to higher rates in my estimation, and just overall lack of inventory of new housing units and decreased home affordability, the longer rates stay higher, the longer people will have to stay in rental units, which means that the likelihood of rental equivalency of the primary residence falling to a level that the Fed would like for it to, just seems like it's just going to be forever. And I need to take a breath.
No worries, but it is going to take a while. But there's several things at play here that go back and forth about exactly what you said. Should the Fed do anything? And I think the first one is that they have said, Jay Powell explicitly said they don't need inflation back to 2% for them to start cutting rates. They just need to be confident in that it is trending in that direction. So that's really where this.
Well, this report didn't help.
This report didn't help. So 100%. But they have already said they didn't think it was going to happen until 2025. At the earliest, getting it back down to 2%. But you're absolutely right. But I do think the housing part is a little funny in that for a lot of people, that part doesn't matter.
No,
the
doesn't matter for me.
Home ownership is continuing to grow, and the amount of people with homes and mortgages that are either don't have a mortgage or have a mortgage under 4% is massive. It's the majority of mortgages, especially under 5%, much more manageable.
So why would you sell your home to get a mortgage 6-7%?
You wouldn't, unless you have to. You don't do it. But again,
unless your spouse
if you told me,
pressure on you, if you really wants XYZ,
and if I don't have to move, and inflate, the housing prices are soaring, but everything else is pretty stable. I'm okay with that in terms of my own financial well-being because I'm not having to change the housing. So I think that's an important caveat to it. And then the last one is I think this year we're seeing a huge influx of multifamily, and I think that's going to play a significant role in it. I think we're starting to see that a little bit. At the end of the day, it is such a lagging indicator. It takes forever. It will keep coming down, probably not as quickly again as people would like, but that part is going to come down.
Well, it will come down as will the rest of it over time, but it's going to be a little bit longer than what I think everyone would like. And Sam, I tell you the reason for that is kind of more anecdotal than anything else. Sometimes your eyeballs will tell you things that maybe black and white numbers on a sheet of paper or computer screen won't. And this is the fact that when people have a job and they feel comfortable in the fact knowing that they will have a job, then they're more apt to spend money as they are.
To run a tight,
to run a little bit tighter than they would. We've seen this as savings rate has gone down below 4%, 3.7% or thereabouts. The last several sort of personal income and personal spending reports have suggested people are spending maybe a little bit more than what they're bringing in, at least on a monthly basis. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, as long as people feel good about their labor situation, as long as the labor market remains relatively tight, as long as employers have to continue to pay maybe slightly above where they would want in order to hire new people for a lot of individual jobs, it's difficult for me to think that the consumer is just going to retrench on their own. And as a result, how are we going to see prices going down when the consumer is still spending with great applause?
And that's something. That's a tough question to answer because you need this kind of balancing act. You need a slight slowdown and maybe some weaknesses in wages, but you don't want to collapse in wages. You don't want unemployment to skyrocket to 5, 6, 7+%. So it's this balancing act. If you need to continue to tighten things up a little, you need probably people maybe a little less confident, their future employment, to maybe spend a little less. But things need to slow down. But it's just kind of just a little. It's just kind of just a little to have this inflation continue to go back down towards 2% without causing. Because the easy way to get inflation back down to 2% would be to cause a recession. Would be to cause a severe recession.
Jack up that overnight rate to 8%.
If you jacked the interest rates up above nominal GDP, which the Fed has not done that yet. That's going to cost them pretty significant.
That would hurt.
It would hurt. But that's the easy way to do it. So the harder way to do it. One, it's going to have to take longer than the easy way. And it's going to have to be a little more. It's going to have to soft on every area. You're probably going to want to see wages soften a little. No, but as a whole, wages softening a little, prices softening a little. That allows interest rates to come back down a little, just kind of a little.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, with my eyeballs, I don't see that happening anytime soon, regardless of about I'm going to give you two stories. Old man, like tell stories. Old man, the first one happened on a couple of Fridays. Both of these happened on the weekend. And this is just reflective. of Central Alabama. More importantly, in Birmingham, over Birmingham, Red Mountain area, in between Red Mountain and 459. Red Mountain and 459. Need to go take a look at a map if you're not from the area, but anyone from this area will know exactly what I'm talking about. A couple of Fridays ago, as we were once at my parents' house, blesses that I'm still around. Friday fun night, all that good stuff. But I promised her I'd take her to a certain Thai restaurant in Crestline Village in the Mountain Town in order to have dinner. She loves the place. She loves the place. I think I've expressed to you. It's fine. It's decent. Don't get me wrong. It's decent. Don't get me wrong. I'm probably Friday night to go out, but Friday night to go out. But I got to tell you, I drove over the Crestline area. That Crestline Village area. I couldn't find a parking spot. Here it was. It's right about 7 o'clock on Friday night. I understand that's the weekend. I understand that's the weekend. I got to tell you, I parked way the restaurant. Walked up to there. Walked up to there. I'm angry that she's angry. I'm angry that she's angry. And we show up to the Thai restaurant. Which shall remain nameless, but you can look it up. And there's a 60 to 90 minute wait at the Thai restaurant. I'm going to tell you, even the best Thai restaurant, I'm probably not waiting.
There's not many restaurants. There's not many restaurants.
Aren't many. And the thing is, sometimes these people. Judging from the number of forlorn people in the waiting area, I believe pretty legitimate. And I'm just not going to wait that long. I'm not going to wait for Thai food. I'm not going to wait an hour for Chinese food. Thai food's a notch for Chinese food, but I'm just simply not going to do it. And when we walked out of the restaurant, the whole village, all the restaurants, every village, all the restaurants, everyone just groaning, huge wait lines, everyone. Then all of a sudden, this past Saturday night, somehow to get in the car with her at 4:30, to get in the car with her at 4:30, shopping center we have here in town, exactly where I'm talking about. She was going to go to a store called Anthropology to get something for her friend Kelly, who had a birthday. So I said, fine, I'll go with. I really don't know. I just maybe just really don't know. Get out. Maybe just get out. I don't know. And we get up there, and we have to park. Way the hell away from on the other side of the divide, all that stuff. Walk up there, just all that stuff. Walk up there, just absolutely tons of cars, just tons of people just milling about, tons of people just walking around, whether or not they're buying anything, and then on the way walking to the Cheesecake Factory, and looked over the Cheesecake Factory, and I don't mind the Cheesecake Factory, and I don't mind telling you, I don't care. It's not necessarily as bad. It's just not necessarily good. And every time I go there, it's like, and every time I go there, it's like I've got to wait to go there, and it's just okay. Most things are just okay. But I told my wife, I said, not quite 5 o'clock. I said, you should drop 5 o'clock. I said, you should on the way back and get a piece of Dolce Leche cheese. Dolce Leche. She loves anything. Dolce Leche. She loves anything. Dolce Leche. Dolce Leche. Just shoot anything. She just anything. She loves it. And she goes, oh, that's a good idea. So I've planted the seeds to my own trap. Unfortunately, I was walking straight into it. And so then after we go to Anthropology, I wait outside while she searches. Go down to the Cheesecake Factory. Go down to the Cheesecake Factory. There's a line to get in line to sit down. This at 5:15. Absolutely groaning with people. People waiting outside. And it took 20 minutes in order to just get this one piece of cheesecake from the bakery counter. All that is to say, here we are different weekends, slightly different types of food, but it's all that stuff. People everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Long lines to go to these restaurants, which are okay. Don't get there. Okay, and it just kind of just kind of came to the conclusion that here we are out and about. People are out and about spending money, or at least making the appearances of spending money. And as long as people are doing this, as long as the restaurants are crowded, as long as the stores are crowded. I don't see how prices go down. I don't see how prices go down in the near term without some sort of being let out, or air being let out of the bubble. There, I've said it. concerns.
I've gone
They're
on two
upset.
diatribes today.
I've gone on
two
two
diatribes today.
I think we may. I think I agree mostly, but we may be trading. I think we may be seeing in the labor market beyond that. The labor market beyond that. The unemployment. We've talked about it. I mean, you can see more people taking on multiple jobs. I mean,
household survey is not jiving.
They're not jiving. They're not jiving. You're seeing more people take on multiple jobs. You're seeing savings come down a little. Wages are starting to not grow. Wages are starting to not grow. I'm slightly confident that we can get to that, especially because we largely have for the last 6+ months, and then the housing's going to continue to be an issue with that, and that report wasn't great and all that. I think directionally we're trending. But I think directionally we're trending in the right direction. And I think productivity is continuing to increase, which I think that is going to help commodities down for 8 commodities.
I'm looking around the office. I might have to argue with you about the productivity.
We can discuss that.
But I'll tell you, Sam. I think you're right to that. In that regard, I think you're absolutely spot on.
I think you're absolutely spot on.
Currently, I think there's tightness in the labor markets.
Tightness in the labor markets that people feel good about driving 45 minutes into Birmingham to go to the Cheesecake. In order to go to the Cheesecake, something like that. In order to drive from Lord knows Chelsea to come into Mountain Brook to Surrey.
I think there's enough strength in there.
I think there's enough strength in there now. By the end of the year, I'm not quite so certain. Now, please don't think I'm saying we're going to go into some recession. I do think,
here we are
however,
at the start of the year.
Fourth quarter earnings were fine. Guidance is low. NFIB, small business optimism index is below 90.
Everything out there just kind of screams
that in 2024 businesses across the country are going to try to do a better job containing expenses.
In containing expenditures, it doesn't mean
lopping off a whole bunch of FTEs or full-time employees in our business. That might be the last thing businesses want to get rid of.
Okay.
It's
travel expenditures.
Okay, we're probably not traveling quite.
We can do more things on Zoom.
We can do more things on
business
Zoom.
Business development.
Maybe we're doing this restaurant instead
here
of
are your
this.
hotels that you
Here are your hotels that you get to choose from.
Maybe rent a car instead of doing your own mileage.
And all these little things start to add up. If companies just try to shrink that sort of non-employee-related costs of their company and other expense, they can try to shrink it 5%, even keep it 10%, or even keep it
where they were
last year. That's going to create an economic ripple throughout the economy. Again, not necessarily doomsday. But if they do that sort of thing, then all of a sudden you start seeing maybe a quarter out, 2 quarters out, and certainly 3 quarters out.
Growth isn't there not
necessarily enough to keep adding FTEs, and certainly in some cases, maybe hotel chains or even airlines or something like that. Just a little bit of cut in corporate expenditures. Then all of a sudden you start to see maybe the unemployment rate start to tick up a little.
Probably right, and I think one thing that's interesting with I think you're spot on with tightening up costs. I think one thing that's interesting that we've seen change from early last year, really the last 12, 18 months to now. The jobs that are being cut now are largely the reason given is largely restructuring. The reason previously was economic conditions. We're seeing this. So where do we really need to be hiring people? And again, it's that same mindset that I think you're talking about. We're not against spending money. Let's spend money where we are really getting a multiple of return on the dollars that we're investing. Maybe that's what we're seeing. Maybe that's what we're seeing is this continuous kind of tightening up the budgets. Let's pull people from where we hired too much and put them where we hired too little, or still need to hire more. I think that is a healthier way to be kind of rebalancing the job market.
And I think you hadn't heard it elsewhere. Then you heard it here first. This year you'll hear more and more business people say in terms of expenditures and just outlays of cash. Is it for a nice to have, or is it for a need to have?
Yep.
The need to have. The need to have you need to have. And some people would argue some nice to haves you need to have. If you catch my drift, it sounds like I'm almost talking in circles. However, it's that extra newspaper subscription. it's that for us how many copies of the magazine instead of throwing. Instead of throwing some away, let's make sure that we don't have enough. For some there's just little things like that, little curtailments, a little nice to have, but not need to have. All of a sudden, it does have a ripple effect. So I do think just the way corporate America operates, we'll start to see prices come down just in general as the labor market continues to soften just a little bit. And it doesn't mean people will have to get axed. It just means all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I don't feel quite as comfortable as I did this time 3 to 6 months ago. My raise wasn't as quite as much as it was last year. They're cutting other expenditures here. I'm going to maybe take a saving. I'm going to maybe not take that extra vacation day just to make the balls.
I think we may be seeing that a little bit, and I think that's the trend. I think you're right that we're going to continue to see this. I think you have to look a little harder than some people would like to, but I think you can already see that a little bit. We've seen not that we make a market in any of these companies, but McDonald's come out and say they're low-end consumer. They're seeing them not spending as much and starting to go home, and they're going to try and start focusing on getting back to that low single digits price increase that they have. So I think we may start to see more people tighten their budget up a little bit. Companies tighten their budget up a little bit, and that kind of cycle. Hopefully, again, going back to hopefully it's just a little bit kind of across the board, and that's how we get back to 2% with the soft landing.
Well, I got to tell you, since you brought them up, and this one part of my planned speech, I've already had 2 of them. Here's my third diatribe for the day. It was actually the day after we tried to go to the Thai restaurant in Crestline. We were driving up to our little cabin up in Benton, Alabama, that Sam has been to, and we left a little bit later than what I thought we were going to leave. So we're going up I-59 about lunchtime, and we stop off, and Beth's gotten into this weird eating habit. She'll wake up, wait for a couple hours, and in any event. She'd already eaten at 10:30 something, so she wasn't hungry for lunch. It's 11:30. I've been up since 5. I was starved. So I said, and she drove her car. So I said, pull off in Springville. What's in Springville? What's in Springville? I said, there's a McDonald's, there's a Jack's, there's just something. I'm getting as hangry as she was the night before. And so we pull into McDonald's. You already mentioned McDonald's, and we don't care about McDonald's one way or the other. We don't own it significantly. We don't make a market in it. All those caveats, what have you. And she goes, what do you want? I said, I don't know. It all kind of tastes the same to me. I said number 1, which is the Big Mac meal. Big Mac meal, medium size, all that stuff. Diet Coke isn't much of a figure. And the girl said be like $11.50. I mean, $11.50 for the Big Mac meal. I mean, granted, if I'm going to Chez Fonfon or something like that, that's nothing. But at McDonald's, that's kind of expensive. And so $11.50, okay, yeah, sure, but I'm going to probably think twice about that next time. But then think about that lower end consumer, for a sort of a nice sort of treat for the family, take 4 people out. You go to McDonald's, all of a sudden you're running up $40.
Yeah.
No wonder they're seeing the low-end consumer not come by quite as much. No wonder they're looking for ways to cut expenditures in their menu, and the only way that they can do that is cut their COGS or cut their employee-related costs, and probably a combination of the 2.
Yeah. Spot on.
When we take a look at everything, no, inflation is going down in general. It's not going up, at least what we saw in 2022. However, prices aren't necessarily coming down. Right now, that's not a huge problem for the U.S. consumer. We're still seeing people spend money, but there are starting to show some signs of slight weaknesses out there in the labor market. You have to kind of really peel back some layers of the onion in order to find them. However, also, we're probably not going to see a ton of improvement in terms of the rental equivalency of primary residence, and frankly, in my estimation, until the Fed starts cutting the overnight lending target. And so that's kind of almost a double-edged sword right there. Regardless, both things should probably happen by the end of the year. Which means that we will probably be entering 2025 on pace to reach those magical 2% sort of type numbers, 2 to 2.5% type numbers that the Fed likes. Sam, probably by the end of the second quarter, third quarter of 2025.
I agree. I think we'll be there.
All right. Well, guys, wait a second. No, we'll wait till the end for that. Well, guys, thank you all so much for listening. We always love to hear from you. Also, if you have any comments or questions, please, by all means, drop us a line at tradingperspectives@oakworth.com, where you can leave us a review on the podcast outlet of your choice. As always, if you're interested in reading more or hearing more of what we have to say or how we think, you can always go to oakworth.com, oakworth.com. Take a look underneath the Thought Leadership tab and find all kinds of exciting information, including links to previous podcasts of Trading Perspectives, links to our blog/newsletter Common Sense, links to our quarterly magazines, other publications called Macro and Market, and all the individual articles therein, as well as all kinds of exciting other information. And with that, Sam, now I'm going to ask you, do you have any other deep thoughts on this exciting topic here today?
That's all I got.
That's all I've got today, too. Y'all take care.